Hey guys, I'm Ryan Wright. So today I'm going to be doing a spoiler talk of Jurassic World. Before I go into this, I do want to say that I actually went online. I went on Rotten Tomatoes. I went through a shit ton of reviews there. I went on Schmoes Know, Tyro Magnus, Jeremy Johns, Chris Stuckman. I wanted to hear opinions of what people thought about this. I know for sure what I felt, but I was curious to see what other people were saying. And I normally don't do that before I do a review. I was kind of surprised, like, where some of the criticisms were and a lot of the negativity was aimed towards. So I do feel compelled to, like, really do a spoiler talk and immediately do one instead of doing a non-spoiler review. I figured most of the people who have been asking for a review have already seen the film, so here I am, let's get into this. Alright, just for starters, I fucking enjoyed the hell out of this film. I thought it was a total blast, super entertaining. I mean, it's fair to say that if you go in with the mentality of wanting to see something similar to the first Jurassic Park, you're probably not gonna walk out too happy. But then again, I rewatched the first film the night before, and I didn't have a hard time readjusting to the tone of the sequel. I mean, it is completely different in tone, but it's still a huge, entertaining, sweeping spectacle, man. And yeah, it's fun thrills, but it's also like suspenseful fun thrills. You hear a lot of movies that are like really fun, really thrilling, but rarely do you hear them use the word suspenseful. I mean, a lot of times, cliche, sure. It's cheesy at a good amount of the time too, yeah. But for this particular film, it actually works. Like, a big reason to why I actually like this film is because it was very self-aware. You could tell it was self-aware in the way they were creating this movie. And like, oftentimes, things that I thought were stupid that I heard in the trailer, they actually explained it pretty well in the movie. Like, when I heard that they're making a hybrid dinosaur, my first thought was, what a stupid idea. Why would they do that? Early on in the film, they lay out a really good explanation as to why they did it. I mean, first off, in real life, we already do that to animals. There's already gene splicing going on. And this is a different type of world. In this world, dinosaurs have been resurrected for years now, so people have kind of become immune to the fact of this. They're not wowed by it anymore. It's a different type of world. It puts you in a world where Jurassic Park is not some secret thing they're working on. It's like a science fiction tale with a twist on modern day. Like, the first one dealt with what if they brought dinosaurs back to life? What would happen? This one is about what if the park successfully opened? I mean, it covers a lot of things that I thought really worked. Like how people have become immune to dinosaur thrills. That does sound like our day and age. And it's interesting because when you watch the first film, it's built off this vision and huge ambition from John Hammond. He mainly wants to share it with the world. Yes, money is involved, but there's a much deeper cause behind why he wants this park to open. But in this film, the park is now open, but it's very much corporate run. And that just makes sense, you know? It's a business. It's an amusement park. So of course it's gonna be run like a corporation. Like, in order for any of this to exist, it takes a lot of money, so they need some very wealthy investors. So why wouldn't their main concern be making profit? And even Chris Pratt acknowledges the issue of a hybrid dinosaur that I was thinking, where he was like, wow, aren't dinosaurs enough? And what I really love that this film did different is that, yeah, up front, it's established there's a villainous dinosaur. It's a hybrid dinosaur. They call it the Indominus Rex, which I thought was an awesome fucking creation. If you look at the first three Jurassic Park films, it's more about surviving the island and being surrounded by a world of herbivores and carnivores. And while there is usually those dinosaurs that do get to shine in the scary things, like it's usually the TRex and the Raptors, they were never really the main focus of the film. They were an ingredient to the movie. Like, the opening shot of this film, the hybrid dinosaurs are being hatched. Like, it establishes right up front, this film is about the Indominus Rex, which made it like a traditional, entertaining monster flick. Like, it was aware that they couldn't just duplicate Jurassic Park, but they knew that people were gonna be waiting around for the thrills, which made it like a traditional, entertaining monster flick. If you look at the first Jurassic Park, first half of it is like, wow, look how beautiful all this is, wonder and awe. And then the second half is just flipped around and it's all just fucking terrifying. It really is terrifying. The film pretty much seemed aware that they couldn't duplicate that, which I admired that they were aware that they couldn't duplicate it. People are saying Jurassic World doesn't have the same sense of wonder and awe, but I'm like, you can't really do that again. We've already been exposed to the wonder and awe, and then we had the wonder and awe fucking flipped on our faces and it was just terrifying. So we're not gonna really be sitting around and wondering, oh, but there were times where I was like, wow, I am finding myself going like, that is pretty fucking cool to see. Like if you look at the Lost World in Jurassic Park 3, they're essentially bullshit replicas of the first one. There's a lot of been there, done that. The film went for something completely different. Rather than about being surviving and trying to get off the island, it's about trying to protect the people on the island. It's about this dinosaur that has broken free, roaming around on this island, and it's getting closer and closer to people. I like how it had like a ticking time clock about it. Like they have to stop it before it gets to all the tourists. So it's like a movie about a hunt to take down a monster. So being self-aware, knowing that the audience is gonna be wanting the terror to kick in. They established everything well in the first act. They set up the Indominus Rex really well. They set up the characters decently enough. Like Bryce Dallas Howard's character is kind of like John Hammond, not fully, but kind of. In the sense that she's not mean-spirited, she's not necessarily greedy and corrupted. She's just trying to do the right things, at least the right things to get her job done. In this other area, I was really worried about how this other area would turn out, but it's one of the reasons why this film is cool in its own right. With Chris Pratt training the Raptors, the fact that Chris Pratt can train the Raptors, like if something like that was in the first one, because of the way the first one is made, it wouldn't make sense. It wouldn't even make sense for part 2 and 3. It just wouldn't match. It would translate as total bullshit. But because of the different vibe, the different world, like it's really important to realize this is now a different world. Before it was like there's a secret thing in our world that we all live in, and it's a dinosaur island. Now it's a different world because everyone knows about it. It's like a more amped up science fiction film. Like a more fictional world of people living amongst dinosaurs, or at least knowing the dinosaurs live somewhere in the world. And having prior knowledge of knowing that raptors are really intelligent creatures, they made it work like surprisingly well. Like I don't know anything about dinosaurs, like really, so I can't sit here and be like, how do you know it's not possible? Because maybe there is someone who knows it's possible, but at the end of the day, it was fucking forever ago, so maybe we could be able to have trained a raptor if, like, we brought a raptor back to, like, I bought it. Like, another reason why it worked is because Chris Pratt wasn't, like, man's best friend with these raptors. Like, the raptors always seem like confused on how to respond to him. Like, emotionally confused on whether or not they should trust Chris Pratt. So it gives you that vibe that at any moment the raptors could possibly turn on him. So that's why Chris Pratt always has to establish his dominance. He always fucks the raptors in the ass. No, that's not what he does. It wasn't like how the trailer made it out to be, where it looked like Chris Pratt will be able to call upon his raptors to kick some ass. His character even says that he pretty much can't do that because of the type of animal they are. Now, there are other characters that have been receiving a lot of complaints, I noticed. But I feel like the issues people are making with these characters are bigger than they need to be. Yes, the first Jurassic Park had really well thought out characters, great acting, I know. I'm sorry this isn't Jurassic Park. This is Jurassic World now, and it's a different kind of film, and the characters might not be as strong, but they're good enough for what this film is. Like, a lot of people are going after the two kids, Zach and Gray, I think. I mean, yes, it's a little weird. Gray is set up pretty simple. He's an enthusiastic young lad who really is obsessed with dinosaurs. Zach is a man who seems pretty intent on cheating on his girlfriend. I personally wasn't a fan of the performance. The writing of it wasn't the greatest, but in a way, I did feel the character was necessary in order to convey the message that Bryce Dallas Howard kept trying to convey, which is, hey, people are immune, they don't really give a shit about the dinosaurs anymore, and you see that this guy looks like bored a lot of the time on the island. He just spends his time like staring at girls, like in a really creepy way. Like he was doing like Edward Cullen maneuvers, but does not have the powers of Edward Cullen, so it's not gonna work. And then at one point, they had this thing brought up that I really wish they did bring a conclusion to, actually, where they were talking about the parents possibly getting divorced. Because I forgot the actors' names. I think one's Judy something Greer, and the other guy, fuck. I really should have looked at the names first. Like, I can do it right now, but I'm not going to. But the people who played their parents, they're really good actors. And they talk about how they're probably going through a divorce, and the kid has a great scene with the little one, Gray, because he's like crying about it. And I really bought it as this kid who's like trying to deal with his parents getting a divorce. But they never wrap that storyline up. Like, I feel like a lot of the issues people had with the characters could have easily been solved if they just gave some conclusions to the characters. One thing I really like about the first Jurassic Park, if you look at Dr. Grant, he starts off not liking kids. Then, because of the terrifying adventure, he gets put in a position where he has to love and care for these two children who are strangers to him, but he really learns to take care of them. And the film ends with like a subtle hint that he probably wants kids now. So there's a character set up, but because of the adventure, it caused Dr. Grant to actually go through an arc. In this film, they're setting up stuff for us to care about the kids for, but once they get thrown into the midst of the terror, they don't even bother to conclude the storylines. It just gets canned. And the other major character that's complained about, which I actually do get this one the most, which sucks because I really love this actor, and I still don't know if I pronounce his name right, Vincent D'Onofrio. He plays like the man who represents the military. He wants to be able to have the government be able to use Raptors, because he sees that dinosaurs can be trained and they can be better weapons than what they currently have. But a lot of people just have issues with that fact right there. But I really didn't. You have to look at this in terms of a world that now accepts the resurrection of dinosaurs. Like 2 decades have passed, it's mainly kids who go to amusement parks. So by this point in time, with mainly kids and teenagers being born into a world knowing of dinosaurs already existing, they're not going to be so wowed by it. It's like an old person might be wowed by an iPhone still today because they lived in a time where the iPhone didn't exist. People who are born into a time where the iPhone exists, they don't really appreciate its invention. That's right, I'm comparing the creation of dinosaurs to an iPhone. So that's one side to this world, and as cheesy as it sounds, the military wants to use raptors to fight. It's cheesy. Yeah, it sounds fucking cheesy, but it works for this movie. It makes sense at the time because it takes place in this fictitious world, and the fictitious world that it's evolved into, it makes sense to me that there would be that man who's like, whoa, we could have a monster on our side. We could have a team of these clever creatures, these monsters that we can, you know, control. They think they can control them and they would do better. Like, it made sense to me that they would want to use it as a weapon. But anyway, yeah, the first 25 minutes of this film sets up the characters, sets up the Indominus Rex, and then the adventure begins. Now, the Indominus Rex is pretty fucking scary. I wish we had gotten some cool animatronic shots of it. Honestly, I don't think we ever did, but I'm pretty sure it was computer generated the whole time. At least it seemed that way to me. But it looked terrifying, and it had a different personality. Like, I love how Chris Pratt's character... Okay, first off, Chris Pratt. I thought he was awesome in this movie. Like, I thought he would just be Chris Pratt again. I thought he would pretty much be who he was in Guardians of the Galaxy. He has those like personality charms with certain characteristics that we do love of Chris Pratt. But he's more toned down, he's more serious, he's more brooding, and he's fucking awesome in this role. I mean, especially after watching this film, I totally get why he was being rumored for the next Indiana Jones. Like, Chris Pratt's character is smart, while everyone else is like, we created them so we own them, we can control them. He understands them as animals. Like that moment where he's describing how it's kind of bad how they're feeding the Indominus Rex, how that crane is the only thing that it really has an emotional attachment to, or some type of relationship, because this dinosaur doesn't live in a community at all. So he gets that it would be vicious, that it would kill anything in its path, because it just doesn't understand things. That if the dinosaur got out of that specific section where they're keeping it, everything would just be like brand new to this dinosaur. It's like a gene spliced animal, but yet it goes back to that argument of like nature versus nurture. So they give the Indominus Rex a personality of like a creature where everything is new in its sight. It's almost like a hungry giant dinosaur that is kind of childlike. But even that right there with the Indominus Rex, the film is self-aware of even naming the dinosaur the Indominus Rex. Like, Chris Pratt's character laughs when he first hears the name, but they give an explanation as to why they named the dinosaur that, and then immediately I was like, oh, yeah. One thing I think that's important to understand is that Jurassic Park has been categorized in many genres, but I feel like people forget that science fiction is one of its main components. They put it under adventure, they put it under thriller, they put it under horror film a lot too. But for some reason, I rarely hear people say science fiction. But this film, they really upped the science fiction factor. And they even messed with the gene splicing stuff a lot more. In the first one, they talk about how to fill in the rest of the DNA molecules or some other scientific shit. They would take DNA strands from frogs to complete the DNA makeup. Hopefully I'm saying this all right. Which allowed certain dinosaurs to change from female into male, because certain frogs can do that. In this film, they take it to a much bigger step. Like, the Indominus Rex is comprised of many things. So it kind of gets like unique powers. Like, it has this really scary moment where it has the ability to camouflage itself. It was really well played out. And that scene, they released a clip of it, and I thought it looked stupid. But then when I saw the film, I was like, this whole scene actually is fucking intense. Like, I love those money shots of when, like, Chris Pratt is under the car and he's pouring the gasoline all over. Really fast. My first thought when this movie ended is Chris Pratt must smell real bad. Because Bryce Dallas Howard says in the first act to Chris Pratt that, you know, he pretty much smells like shit. And then throughout the movie, he's running around after he poured a bunch of gasoline on himself. He is sweating like crazy. His clothes are getting worn out. He's falling in dirt and shit. So I imagine that he just smelled awful. I just want to point that out. But that scene, you know, that money shot where Chris Pratt's under the car and the teeth appear and there's the blood in the teeth. It was fucking terrifying. Like, especially on IMAX. I gotta say, if you saw this film, I don't care what your opinion is. If you didn't see it on IMAX, you gotta check it out. The IMAX 3D experience is fucking awesome. It's more than just a bigger screen. It really does make the adventure that much more fun. Like, yes, the deaths are more brutal, but with the Indominus Rex, what's really cool is, like, I was kind of sitting there going, how will they defeat this dinosaur exactly? Because this dinosaur is really fucking smart. Like, one thing with the T-Rex was, if you don't move, it can't know you're there. It won't see you. But it seemed like with the Indominus Rex that it didn't matter if you were still or not. It would be able to see. It would still be able to pick up on you. Like, the Indominus Rex is a terrifying monster. Like, it's scary when they're hunting the dinosaur and they say, okay, there's a tracker in it, so that's how we'll find it. And the fucking trailer gave it away, but I was so pulled into the movie that it's a scary moment where they just see this, like, pound of flesh from the dinosaur that it was willing to just carve out its own flesh to get the tracker out. And because you fucking remember that it had a tracker in it. Like when the kids are in that rolling spear glass thingy and they are being attacked by the Indominus Rex, that was intense. I mean, yeah, I know they probably would have died, like, just from how the dinosaur was just smashing the fucking thing. And then they get out in a way where it's like, well, yeah, they probably would have died from that too. So yeah, you have to suspend your disbelief, but the movie is just fun, so it's like, it's not hard to. Because yeah, anything in this film that's ridiculous, it causes you to suspend your disbelief. And there's a lot you'll find cheesy, but it, like I keep saying, it works for this particular film. A lot of it wouldn't work for the type of film Jurassic Park is, but it works for the type of film Jurassic World is. Like Kids Escape, it's bullshit. When they fucking find the Jeeps, oh, cool homage to the first one, but then they were able to start up the Jeep, that was a little bit, yeah, that's bullshit. None of that really bothered me, honestly, but the moment that, the one cheesy moment that really did make me go, what? Was when Bryce Dallas Howard and Chris Pratt kissed. It's like, I get she saved his life, but if she didn't, she'd be a total fucking cunt. A lot of this is her fault why everything's going to hell. A flying dinosaur, I think it's a pterodactyl, I don't know. A flying dinosaur is about to kill Chris Pratt. The only reason the flying dinosaur is about to kill Chris Pratt is because Bryce Dallas Howard really fucked up. So the only right thing to do was fucking save Chris Pratt. Then Chris Pratt gets up and kisses her, and I was like, what? I didn't feel anything really leading up to that. Like maybe a kiss at the end of the movie might have made more sense, but there was so much adventure, and I'm like, when did they have time to develop romantic chemistry exactly? And also real quick, another major complaint I'm hearing is what they did with BD Wong. Like they do turn him into a villain, but in my personal opinion, I like how they turned him into a different character. Rather than just making it a fun Easter egg cameo where we go, oh hey, it's that one Asian dude who was like in a scene or two in the first Jurassic Park. They turned him into more of a character that actually plays a real pivotal part. Like Mark Ellis from Schmozno said, his character goes down some Bond villain territory. I don't disagree with that. But I just really appreciated the fact that they gave a turn on a character that could have just been an Easter egg. All right, so the last couple things I feel like I need to talk about. I know I've been talking for a while. I love that whole sequence when they unleash the Raptors to go help them take down the Indominus Rex. I mean, there was a clever twist there. I mean, because at that point, the audience is thinking, oh yeah, well, we got teased from the trailer where the Raptors are gonna help fight. Like, it's one thing I thought the trailer did right, which was eluding us down a different path. But when the Raptors immediately encounter the Indominus Rex, Chris Pratt quickly realizes that they've been spliced with raptor DNA. Then we get even more of what we want. So we get this other take on the Raptors, and then a part of me was kicking in going, you know, it's cool and all, but I do miss when the Raptors were like scary fucking creatures. And then they bring it back where the Raptors become ferocious killers again. And it like bummed me out in the right way, because I was invested in that part of the story. So I was like, oh man, that really sucks for Chris Pratt. I really like those Raptors. But there's a moment that I feel like people should acknowledge a little bit more. Like the Raptors have turned on everyone. They're all shooting at the Raptors as the Raptors are like fucking annihilating everyone. And Chris Pratt has this one moment where he can easily take out one of the Raptors, but he looks at it in the eyes and he just doesn't take the shot. Like he's contemplating because he still understands the emotional side of the animal. He doesn't just look at it as, oh, this is now a bad creature. Then of course someone else just blows the raptor up. But that moment was smart to include because it doesn't make the finale seem so convenient. Now the finale, here we go. It's what this fucking film is all fucking about. Right fucking here. The #1 reason you must watch this on IMAX. Like before the big battle, the Raptors come in. You know, they have those moments in the Jurassic Park films where the Raptors corner in the group of main characters. And Chris Pratt is able to get through to the Raptors, and I like that moment. Like they gave the Raptors more personality. I keep feeling like I'm saying rappers, but they gave the Raptors more personality. You could see that they're animals. They're thinking and feeling animals. Like more than just nature, they're being nurtured. And I love that moment because even though you know your main characters are not gonna get killed off, I liked how the Raptors were like emotionally confused on what to do. They never became like a puppy and just wanted to get pet all the time. But you see the decisions made when the Indominus Rex reappears and the Raptors start going after it. That was an intense scene and I was like, fuck man, I love those Raptors. And then when the kid was like, we need more teeth, and then Bryce Dallas Howard had an idea, then I immediately remembered, oh yeah, that's right, they teased the T-Rex. And I remember the director saying that it was the same T-Rex from the original, so it's like an aged version. But they only teased it for like very briefly. They don't keep cutting back to it, so they're not really setting it up. But of course, Bryce Dallas Howard goes running, and then she unleashes the T-Rex, and I wasn't there going, yup, saw that coming. I was like, that is exactly what I wanted to see happen. The original T-Rex versus the brand new hybrid Indominus Rex. Epic fucking battle. I mean, it's cool because, like, at first I was like, okay, it's gonna suck if the T-Rex just starts owning, but the T-Rex is getting his ass handed. That would just make the most sense. The T-Rex is fucking old. But the cheesiest fucking moment, it was so fucking cheesy, but I love it, was when the Raptor appears and starts running in slow motion to help the T-Rex. Was like, okay, this kind of doesn't fit, but I love it. It was so cheesy. Because in, you know, the T-Rex, only way for the T-Rex to have won, it did need help. And it was cool because in the first one, the T-Rex, the same T-Rex, actually kind of saves the main characters by killing the Raptors. And this one, it's like they work together. It was a cool flip for the fans of the series because the first Jurassic Park, the T-Rex, was fucking terrifying. It was even really scary in the second one. But as a fan of the series, you find yourself rooting for that fucking T-Rex. And like Jeremy Johns said it best, like they go deep blue sea where they get the Indominus Rex near the water, then that water creature who ate the shark just takes the Indominus Rex down into the water. And they foreshadowed that. Because there's a scene where the Indominus Rex is chasing after the kids. The kids jump into the water, and the Indominus Rex is the only time when the Indominus Rex is like, maybe I shouldn't continue chasing them. So it like foreshadows that the way to defeat this dinosaur is push it into the water, essentially. I just really liked how these dinosaurs were not portrayed as like soulless creatures. They're portrayed as animals that think and feel. So that moment when the T-Rex, you know, like doesn't eat the fucking raptor, I thought it was cool because they were like, you know what, man? You a cool little raptor. You have my back. N-word with an A at the end. Can't say that word. Tyrone Magnus can say that word. So yeah, I had a great fucking time. At the end of the day, this film has one mission, one task it's really setting out to do, and that is to entertain the fucking cum out of you. It does so in a suspenseful, entertaining way that I haven't felt in a while. It was really thrilling. I had a blast. Go for the fun. Go for the IMAX experience. Have a good day. Anyway, guys, if you're new to the channel, you can subscribe to The Real Rejects. You can follow us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Vine, where if we get enough followers, we can get product placement, or should I say, more product placement. Oh, what products did I actually get placement for recently? Have I promoted anything recently? Huh? Was it subtle? No. The one thing I got product placement for was not subtle. But the next one I'm going to try to sneak in really well. I want it to just seep into your subconscious and be like, ooh, I do want Chips Ahoy. Aw, fuck, I gave it away.